A man who will go the extra mile and often finds himself a mile away from where he should be. Mr. Gary Kroger.
Again, I don't know what it means, but I like it.
Yeah, people will say, oh, that guy went the extra mile. And it always occurs to me that, well, maybe he shouldn't have gone the extra mile because then he would have arrived at his destination
and
instead of
be where they were intended to be.
Instead, when he got there, he goes, I have to go the extra mile. And you go, no, don't go the extra mile. Come back.
Stay. Where are you going? I'm going an extra mile.
That's what that was all about.
But your point is I do go the extra mile. So I'm a mile out of town.
Most likely.
Let's not try to figure this out. For all of you playing at home, well, first of all, welcome to the Gary and Kenny Show. I have not gone the extra mile. I am in Waterloo, Iowa, and I am joined by Kenny Seisler, who is 2,200 miles from me in Calabasas, California.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. So what do we have on the show today, Gary?
Well, get it? We've got Steve Mittleman, stand-up comic, on the show, but he's not coming on to do stand-up comedy or really talk about his career. He wrote a diet book. I would call it a diet philosophy called There Is No Wagon. In other words, there's no wagon to fall off. It's a new way of looking at things. And I read everything skeptically because Kenny, if you wrote a book, I would go, okay, Kenny, I'll read it. Right. I read this and was actually really surprised by how it's working for me to look at Steve's diet philosophy. So, that's
the book is called Off the Wagon?
There is no wagon.
There is no
There's no wagon
immediately
to fall off.
Okay, but it did.
There's no extra mile to go.
Gotcha. So the thing I was trying to recollect was when you're on the wagon. Why are you on the wagon in the first place?
Well, the wagon is a metaphor for not indulging in things.
No, it came from a time where they would
when you could fall off a wagon
on the wagon.
Yeah,
and I think what I can understand is if you were not drinking, you were on the wagon.
On the wagon, right?
And then suddenly, when you started to drink, you would fall
off the wagon.
But then, but then wouldn't another wagon have to come and get you and pick you up?
Where are we? Are we on the Oregon Trail now, working our way west?
I was just trying to remember because I wasn't sure whether or not you were on
the metaphor of the wagon
was a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a good question because I've always thought of the wagon because, I'm on the wagon, meaning you're not drinking. Right. And I never really put it into the wagon train metaphor. I always kind of thought this means you're containing a certain discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lose that discipline, you have fallen off.
Okay. Well, I probably am. I'm off the wagon, apparently.
Oh, come on. Kenny, look, we talk about me yo-yoing a little bit, and people know that I'm trying different things to get...
No, I'm not talking about diet. I'm talking about drinking.
Oh, do you drink? We've never really drunk together.
Well...
Well, a big pause, apparently.
Is this
Are you drinking now?
Is this you're throwing the gauntlet down?
Look, Kenny, I know you get high, and I figure that's your thing. I like a little wine. I don't get high.
No, I'm a vodka martini drinker. That's my drink.
How regularly?
Well, here's the way it works. If I can find an excuse to drink...
Is there a clock involved? Can you make this decision at 9 in the morning?
Down to something like, I hit my head. I need a drink. Or,
something to anesthetize.
The reason, Deborah, I can't believe it. I was in traffic for like 2 hours. I got to have a drink.
I need a stiff drink.
As long as I have a reason that I can justify it. I can't just go, I'm going to have a martini. Right. I have to have a reason that I deserve a martini. I need to deserve that martini.
Understood. But if you have a propensity for creating these stressful situations, which I think is really the psychology here, then you're going to be having that de-stressifying drink quite often. You might need to go on the wagon.
I have propensity.
Yeah, you have a propensity.
I do.
You go that extra mile when it comes to
coming up with
vodka
excuses.
Martini.
Coming up with
All right.
excuses.
Well, that's interesting.
I'll tell you another thing. Okay, so let's,
No.
I look for any excuse not to do something.
And I know this about you, but please continue.
If
Like you go to somebody's party, right?
it's just like, listen, I, like I say, I like to swim. I like to work out. I like to do things,
Yeah.
or people want to take me shopping or whatever. If I can find an inconvenient thing about having to do that,
Right. You will choose that.
I will use that. I will
A
say,
shiny
I can't do
object.
it because I'm one of those. I will come up with a reason why I can't do. I find if it's inconvenient. An
Yeah.
example. Do you know that April 5th is a big anti-Trump protest? I really want to go to it.
But you may find an excuse not to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I think there's a polarity in you, Kenneth, because you are
Wait,
very
I
disciplined.
have a propensity and a polarity?
And a polarity. You have a lot of P's. You are very good at swimming. You're very good at going to the gym. You do stay in very good shape for a man of your age.
Yes.
So I question whether you always, find an excuse.
I will say this. The only reason I have been able to maintain an exercise program is because I cannot find an excuse not to go because it's 80 degrees and sunny here, and the
Yeah.
pool is 30-second drive from my house.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's totally about convenience, Gary.
And you've probably used up most of the excuses in your house. You've fluffed the pillows already. You've cleaned the toothpaste jar or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, there aren't a lot of new excuses for you to come up with to avoid something, right?
Oh no.
Oh, no.
No.
I, on the other hand, consider, there's some Amish people walking this way. Out my window, there are Amish people walking. That doesn't happen to you very often, does it? I'm looking at two Amish people walking across the street.
If they were walking here in Los Angeles,
if my doorbell rings,
there's Orthodox Jews walking outside.
Okay, but if I go to the door soon, I'm going because it's the Amish people.
But wait a second,
perhaps they're selling fresh eggs.
They're not in a buggy?
At a good price.
Are they in a buggy?
Yeah, they're the buggy people. Yeah.
No,
they're not in a buggy. They're walking.
Right now, they're on the wagon?
No, they're walking. They're off. They've fallen off the wagon. They're walking this way. And like I say, maybe they're selling fresh eggs, door to door. And I'll buy them because it's going to be the best price I'm going to get.
Is that what happens? Amish people come door to door?
No, I've never seen this before in my life. There is an Amish industry here, though, that comes into town, which they're excellent roofers. They're excellent carpenters and things. So you very often see your roof being done by an Amish organization. I use them to redo the roof of my garage. They work hard. They work fast. They work well. Anyway, yes, those are the Amish. Were we talking about something else?
Inconvenience.
Have we talked about the fact that Steve Mittleman's coming on the show? We have, right?
You mentioned it. You mentioned it. You want to bring him on?
Well, I suppose we probably should. I think let's get on the wagon and bring Steve Mittleman out and talk about falling off the wagon.
I can't find any excuse not to.
Say hello to Mr. Steve Mittleman.
Hi there. And this light looks more natural. An overhead light looks good.
No,
right?
You look good. Yeah, earlier.
Oh my God. I don't even know me anymore. That's how good this looks. Yeah.
Steve, I always think about the comedians that first time I saw them on the Tonight Show, because that's how you discover it. I remember Freddie Prinze. It was like out of nowhere, never heard of the guy. Freddie Prinze shows up or whatever. There was a bunch of comedians like that. I never saw, even Richard Pryor, the first time I ever really saw him was on the Tonight Show.
Wow.
And I always remember the other person, never heard of. The first time I ever saw Steve Mittleman, he did the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. And he killed. That was quite something, right?
Oh my God. It's a dream. I used to watch the Tonight Show. My parents never knew from our bedroom, my brother and I, in Queens. It was a certain angle on you could just see the zenith, zenith, right? And it actually had TV repairman back then. Anyway, so I would watch. I was like 8, 9, 10, and my parents never knew I was watching the Tonight Show with them. I didn't understand it, but that's my Carson.
How dramatic of a change. You came on, you do the set, you kill.
Yes.
Does your life change dramatically overnight?
Nothing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It did. I got some really good gigs, and yeah, people talk about you. It's a great thing. I didn't get a sitcom out of it, but I was on a bunch of sitcoms.
Right.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
When I look around and go, hey, I could do that too. I could have done that too. And I was like a sort of a utility guy. Get on a show, I'd get very good laughs or big laughs.
Right.
And then I'd be off the show. But that's how it works. But
anyhow, I always remember that the first time I saw you, because you did the thing, your whole the neck thing, the chin, the sleeve. I don't know if anybody knows this. You got to go on YouTube and watch Steve's bit about the chin and folding, and his dream of being able to fold sheets, pillowcases. I think
that's right. It used to take me. The worst thing about having a weak chin, it used to take me 3 to 4 hours to change a pillowcase.
Right.
Okay. Now this is actually a perfect segue. It's perfect because I met you years later.
Okay.
I was hosting Comic Strip Live. Kenny was directing. And in those days, the comics, we got to know each other. And your whole thing, Steve, was to be somewhat self-deprecating.
I guess so, because, what can I say? After a certain age of doing that for 20 years, you go, and that was probably about 12, 15 years into, maybe in 1990, something like that, around there.
Yeah.
So, after, 15 years ago, okay, I have no chin, I get it, I have no chin, or whatever it is. I can't get a tan, whatever the jokes were, I can't get laid. After a while, you feel better than that in life.
Yeah.
I didn't exude that to the audience as much. And I could still play that guy, but I wasn't that guy, so it was life calls, and your evolution as a person, it happens whether you like it or not,
Well, I as a fan bought into your act and into the image, and look, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes. I didn't feel that you considered yourself a lithe man in a crisp shirt, and now you've re-emerged with this diet book, and you are a great-looking guy in a crisp, clean shirt. There is a transformation. Let's not deny.
In 2004, I had a makeover on Extreme Makeover on ABC. They were looking for comics. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was really burnt out. If you think I was burnt out on it in 1992 or whatever it was, I was really burnt out, 10, 12 years later. And ABC emailed me, somebody from an agent actually said, hey, they're looking for a comedian for Extreme Makeover on ABC. Would you consider this? And, the funny thing about it is I was about to turn 50, and I sent this, I talked to like my family, friends, old comic friends. I go, you think I should do this? And everybody went, that's a good idea. Like, everybody in your life says, yeah, you should have a makeover. What does that say about you when, anyway.
I always wondered when they would have celebrities come on and do commercials for diet programs, like when their agent calls them and says, I got a great gig for a diet thing.
That's for Jenny Craig.
Reverse mortgage. Right?
Yeah. Hey, so I will tell you this. When we were talking about having Steve on the show, I said, that's great. And I told him a story about seeing you on Carson, one of my favorite comedians, and funny stuff like that. Send me the book. I can't wait to read it. I got to tell you, I was very surprised. I wasn't that expecting. I was expecting, an autobiography more. It has a little bit of that. There's the book.
There's the book. But the thing about this book, it's a diet book about not dieting. It's about
exactly. Yeah. Let me headline this for everybody, so they're not just looking at you holding up your book, because some people are just listening. The book is called "There Is No Wagon." Subtitle, when it comes to dieting, you can't fall off, which I love. Right. And then you say, a big serving of encouragement on food, weight, and health by Steve Mittleman. Yeah. And you look, I've never been heavy, but I yo-yo a bit, and I've tried, as Kenny knows, I talk about, trying to lose things. Your book really changed a way that I look at food. Because you don't talk about dieting. You
No.
talk about your relationship to food. And you know what? Every once in a while, you want an ice cream cone.
Well, you know something? Yes, I don't have a regular ice cream cone. I'll have like a plant-based ice cream cone.
Okay.
I'll have that. In my life, in my story, I would gain and lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, sometimes 50. And I'm a tall guy, so you kind of hide it well when you're taller, but it would go right to my gut. I know it wasn't healthy. My parents, my whole family has weight issues. When parents were alive, they had them. My brother and sister, we all have them. The through line is love yourself through the bumps in the road. You don't fall off anything. But the other through line is, and I really do believe this, and it sounds very humanistic, we should all be healthy. We're in a world that's full of, crap, dreck, as the Jews say, dreck, a lot of dreck out there. But the truth is we should all be healthy. The fact that is out there, I'm just saying, hey, folks, navigate this dreck world that we're in, that we're raised for, we're groomed to eat. It's very addictive stuff. So don't beat yourself up. If you eat something that's addictive and you want more of it, some people can't have one cone, right? Some people can't.
Yeah.
With me, I want 5 of them.
Let me interject something here. And I want to point out, first of all, we want to drive people to the book. And the book, because you're a stand-up, and Kenny, I know we talked about this, it's very funny. You have some very funny lines. Let me share something here, not for its humor, but for its philosophy. One of your chapters is called Shades of Gray.
Yes.
And you said losing weight is not like stopping drugs or alcohol, which is a common misconception.
Black and white, yeah.
Yes, drugs and alcohol are black and white, you're right. Most of the diet industry tricks you to jam their square peg diets into a round hole called our mouths. And that's sort of your underlying philosophy right there.
Yes. By the way, I'm not advocating that people go, oh, hey, Steve said I can eat like bad stuff. And
right.
I'm just saying, that's part of your journey. If you do this once in a while, if you do this however often it is, that it's much better than going, oh, I fell off my diet, I'm going to party now. And then you know how it is. People drop 30 and gain 50. People drop 90 and gain 100 because they just tell something in their head. It's not even what they're eating as much, even though it's addictive. It's because you go, the addictive food that you and I eat, right? Somewhere inside it has a hold of a part of our brain that says the floodgates have opened, let's party, right? It affects how we eat, but it also affects how we think about what to eat next. It's like, oh, wouldn't I want more of that stuff? More of that dreck, right? I want that dreck, folks. The point is, it's not just us talking. It's our attachment to those things that we want more of, talking through us, going, oh yeah. That cone, I want to be paired up with another cone, and I'm still hungry, so I want another cone. It's the cone talking. It's the addiction. It's the actual food and the ingredients and the processed food and the fat and the processed and the fried going, hey, give me more of that.
I totally relate. I don't know, Kenny, you've never gained a pound in your life.
No,
I've never seen you lose a pound or gain a pound.
No. I do. I'm on the opposite of Steve. I'm short of stature, so if I go off, it's very visible on me. I mean, the thing that I do mostly is I really do is as much exercise as I possibly can. Swimming has been the best thing for me. But I did want to ask, Steve, did you do an audiobook for this as well?
No, I need to, because I have a lot of comedy in there.
Sure do.
So this is the first of a series, and they're called the No Wagon books. And basically, because I'm a comedian, I don't claim to be a scientist or a doctor or a nutritionist I think, yes, I am on some level from my experience. I mean, I'm among the best eating disorder specialists that doesn't have a degree.
Okay.
What I have is life experience and my experience. Nothing worked for me before I said I will not fall off anything ever again. Nothing in my life. Nothing.
You're an auctioneer. I find that also interesting.
Letting myself off the hook and not beating myself up and having self-compassion and learning to love myself. These are the things that I advocate in the book, and I throw humor in between them.
You do, and it is because of life experiences. We make my own personal journey there, because when I go on something and lose 10 pounds and then I put 8 back, I don't feel like I still lost 2 pounds. No, I feel like I failed. Yeah, and when I fail, what do I want to do? Yeah, maybe have a big meal, because I go, what the hell? What the hell? I tried and I failed. Yeah. So I love this thought. Now, one of the things you do, and we're going to wrap this up in a moment and tell people where to get the book, but you break down and you demythologize common notions about dieting, as well as falling off the exercise wagon, which people do as well. Yes, sure. And then finally, you created a worksheet. You created a worksheet that I think you call Building Your Act. Can you briefly explain that?
Well, basically, figure out what works. It's like, as a comedian, you start off. First time I ever did anything on stage was in a class, oral interpretation class in college. And I love comedy. I wanted to be a disc jockey or a comedian. And even in high school, I wrote on a yellow legal pad. I wish I still had it. I don't have it. Like, this is funny. This is funny. This is funny. And in that class, because everybody knew me and liked me, I killed, like, the first time I ever did stand-up. I was up all night. I ran my jokes with my roommates and my dorm mates, right? And so after that moment, when I started doing comedy, end of 76, the first 4 minutes I bombed. The last minute I did well. It was a Nixon routine, by the way. And then you go, okay, what works? The Nixon routine works. Then a few months later, I had like a bit about Tom Carvel. That got a big laugh. I had a bit about Subway bake shops. That got a big laugh. I had a bit about Marcus Welby. That got a big laugh.
Welby jokes always kill.
So basically, you know something? It's the same idea, building your act. What works? Waking up in the morning and meditating. That works. Wake up in the morning and have take a walk. Wake up in the morning and shower in the morning because it feels good. Wake up in the morning and have a fruit salad. You build what works. The world gives you give yourself evidence because you feel better. You're trimmed down, and losing weight is a byproduct of great choices. So, what are the great choices that work? You can't say weight is a disease, but excess weight can lead to more cancer, certainly heart disease.
Right. It's a great book, and it's also got a lot of funny stuff in it.
Yeah, thank you.
And in a way, it's a feel-good book because it doesn't beat people up about what you're doing wrong. It's about all the things that you can do right. So it's great in that regards. And so, Steve, I want to thank you very much for coming on.
The book is There Is No Wagon. There is no wagon. When it comes to dieting, you can't fall off, which is a great philosophy. And Steve, where do we get it?
Amazon. You can get it in Kindle version or paperback. But this is more laughter is fun. But when I get a call like I got a couple of days ago by somebody I recommended the book to, and I said, try and have a green smoothie every day, a giant thing, the whole thing of like a Vitamix that big, that much green smoothie. I'm going to make one as soon as we're finished here. Fill yourself up with great stuff. And the other stuff, like, crowd out the bad stuff. Fill yourself up with great stuff. Crowd out the bad stuff.
Well, again, thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
There is no wagon. Steve
There is
Mittleman.
no wagon. Steve
So
Mittleman,
good to see you.
MITT. Thank you.
Thanks for being with us, buddy.
Appreciate it so much.
Love the book. Love the book.
Thank you very much. Have a good one. Take care.
We're going to say goodbye to everybody right now. That was Steve Mittleman, our special guest, a great stand-up comic, known him for years and years and years. His book, There Is No Wagon, you can get it on Amazon to start with. Thank you all for watching and or listening to The Gary and Kenny Show. You can catch us on all the popular podcast platforms. We are on DBTV, which is streaming, and also go to our YouTube channel, The Gary and Kenny Show. We love your comments, especially when they start with a thumbs up. See you all. Till next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.